The bakery was 2 minutes from closing when the door opened. Chen had already dimmed the front lights, sent the part-timer home, and started wrapping the unsold pastries for the shelter donation bin. 11 hours on her feet. The kind of tired that doesn't go away with sleep. She looked up. A woman stood just inside the doorway, holding the door handle like she wasn't sure she had the right to be there. Coat too thin for March. Hair pulled back. She looked like someone who had been holding herself together for a long time and was running low on the energy it took to keep doing it. "We're closed," Maya said. The woman didn't leave. She looked at the nearly empty display case, then back at Maya. She swallowed once. "I know. I saw the sign. She stopped. "Do you have any leftover cake?" It was the way she asked it. Not begging. Not embarrassed. Just careful. Like she had practiced the question on the walk over and decided that was the most dignified way to say it. Maya didn't hesitate. She came around the counter, cut a generous slice from the half-chocolate cake tagged for donation, poured the last of the afternoon coffee, and carried both to the table near the window. "Sit down," Maya said. The woman, Diane, she said, sat down and wrapped both hands around the cup. She looked at the cake like she was deciding whether she was allowed to want it. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't mention it," Maya told her, and went back to work. No audience. No waiting for gratitude. Just back to wiping counters and wrapping bags. Across the street, Elliot Marsh was already watching. Elliot Marsh. 41 years old. Founder of Marsh Capital. 14 years building and selling companies across 6 states. A man whose name appeared in financial publications often enough that his assistant had stopped printing the mentions. He had been half listening to his CFO for 20 minutes when he saw the woman in the thin coat stop on the sidewalk. Read the closed sign. Stand very still. Then walk in anyway. A minute later she was sitting at a table near the window. Someone had given her something. Coffee. A plate. And the person behind the counter had gone straight back to work without making anything of it. Elliot lowered his phone. Something about that specific thing, the going back to work without making anything of it, landed somewhere he wasn't prepared for. He couldn't name it. That bothered him. He was a man who could name most things. "Elliot." His CFO's voice sharpened. "Did you catch that? Send me the file. I'll read it tonight." He ended the call. Looked at the dark bakery window. "Ron," he said to his driver. "Find out who manages that bakery in the evenings. Full name. Background. Everything." Ron didn't ask why. He never did. But this time, even Ron glanced in the rearview mirror. 3 years ago Chen had a real career. Senior buyer for a regional grocery chain. A salary that covered her bills with something left over. A life that felt, for the first time, like it was going somewhere. Then the chain got acquired. Her department got restructured. A man she had never met told her in 11 minutes that her position had been eliminated. He slid a severance packet across the table, thanked her for her contributions, and left before she did. She sat in that room alone for a moment. Not crying. Just sitting. Then she picked up the packet and walked out. For months of burning through savings followed. 62 job applications. For responses. The bakery was one of them. $15 an hour. Tips at a bakery were not impressive. 6 weeks behind on rent now. 1 credit card left with a small balance. A landlord named Gerald who had told her twice they would figure something out. Every morning she made a list. Every night she crossed off what got done. It was the only system she had that still worked. 2 months after the layoff she had called her sister Renee and asked for help. Kept her voice steady. Explained everything clearly. Renee listened. Then said she and her husband were stretched thin too. That Maya was so strong. That she would absolutely land on her feet. Maya thanked her and hung up. Sat on the edge of her bed. Then made her list for the next day and went to sleep. She didn't call Renee again after that. Not about any of it. The friends from the old job drifted. Not unkindly. Liv's just moved. A person who is struggling is sometimes hard to be around when you are not. She understood. She didn't hold it against anyone. She just kept going. Alone. Quietly. There was one night, a Thursday, 3 weeks before Elliot Marsh walked into her bakery, when she came home, pulled the eviction notice from her coat pocket, and held it over the kitchen trash can. She stood there for a long moment. Then she pulled it back. Not because she believed things would get better, but because throwing it away felt too much like giving up. She smoothed it out carefully with both hands and placed it on the kitchen table where she could see it every morning. Not as punishment. As proof that she was still in the fight. Gerald's letter arrived on a Thursday. Formal notice of intent to reclaim the unit if the outstanding balance wasn't settled within 30 days. He had written a short note at the bottom by hand. He was sorry. He had held off as long as he could. She folded it. Put it in her coat pocket. Went inside. She sat at the kitchen table and did the math she already knew. 6 weeks of back rent. 30 days. Her current hours didn't get her there. Not even close. She opened her laptop. Looked at her bank account. Closed it. Picked up her phone. Put it back down. There was no one to call. That was the part that sat heaviest. Not the number. Not the deadline. Just the quiet of having no one to call. She placed Gerald's letter on top of the earlier eviction notice on the kitchen table. 2 letters now. Same spot where she drank her coffee every morning. Then she went back to work. That evening Patrick called her into the back. She assumed it was about scheduling. It wasn't. The bakery's evening hours were being cut. Corporate decision. Her shift would now end at 7 instead of 9. 2 hours less. 5 days a week. She asked if there was flexibility. Patrick said he was sorry, there wasn't. She thanked him and went back to the floor. She finished the shift. Walked to the bus stop in the cold. Sat on the bench. 30 days. Back rent she couldn't cover. Hours just cut. 1 credit card between her and nothing. She didn't panic. Panic wasn't useful. She had learned that early. She was still working through the next step when the bus came. She got on. Found a seat. Looked out the window. She had no idea that across town, Elliot Marsh had just finished reading the full background report on her. Not the 1-page summary. The full one. The one that included Gerald's name. The amount she owed. The 30-day notice. He read every word. Then he picked up the phone and made a reservation at a small restaurant near the bakery. He told himself it was coincidence. It wasn't. Elliot couldn't explain why he was sitting in his office reading a background report on a bakery employee. Maya Chen. 34. Former senior buyer. 6 weeks behind on rent. 30-day notice. 1 credit card. He had read it all. He told himself it was professional curiosity about retail food operations. He was good at telling himself things that sounded reasonable. But it wasn't the financial details he kept coming back to. It was the part about 62 applications and 4 responses. About a woman who had built something real, lost it through no fault of her own, and was still cutting cake for strangers on her way out the door at night. He went to the bakery Friday evening. Jacket instead of a suit. Sat in the back. Watched her work for 40 minutes without introducing himself. He came back Monday. Then Thursday. On Thursday she looked up when he walked in and said, "Dark roast or medium?" She had noticed him enough to remember his order without making anything of it. He sat down. Felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not attraction exactly. Something closer to recognition. He was 50 days out from the end of 4 years with Vanessa Donovan, a corporate attorney who had told him calmly that being with him felt like living next to a highway. Constant motion. Constant noise. Never still. He had thought about that sentence more than he'd told anyone. On Friday he came in at closing time. "We're about to close," Maya said. "I know. I just wanted to ask you something." He told her about the food service roundtable. About Marsh Capital. About the food distribution acquisition. She listened without interrupting. "You've been in here 4 times in 2 weeks," she said. "Yes." "To watch me work?" "Yes." "Why?" He set aside the professional answer. "Because you gave a woman a piece of cake and a cup of coffee and went straight back to work without making anything of it. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about that." She looked at him for a long moment. What she didn't know was that he had read about her eviction notice before he ever walked through that door. That nothing about this conversation was as accidental as it appeared. "Leave your card," she said. "I'll think about it." He left his card and walked out. He was smiling before he reached the door. That small satisfied smile was the thing that would matter later. Maya didn't call for 3 days. She looked him up, confirmed he was who he said he was, and called on the 3rd day. The round table was real. 12 people around a long table at a hotel downtown. Elliot introduced her simply, "Maya Chen, evening operations, suite provisions." No overselling. She spoke twice during the first hour. Both times the room went quiet. She knew food retail from both ends, and she said things executives hadn't heard because they stopped working the floor 20 years ago. After the round table he asked if she wanted to continue over dinner. She said yes before she finished deciding whether she meant to. Dinner was real. He told her about Cincinnati and starting his first company at 26. She told him about Hartwell, kept it factual. He listened and asked questions that showed he had been paying attention. She did not tell him about Gerald's letter. About the 30 days. About the credit card. She had no idea he already knew. They had dinner twice more over the following 10 days. On the 3rd dinner he offered her a consulting role. Paid. Working directly with his team on the food distribution acquisition. "Why?" she asked. "Because you're the most operationally intelligent person I've talked to in this process. And because you deserve something better than a closing shift at a bakery." "You looked me up," she said. "Yes." "You know about Hartwell?" "Yes." "Do you know about my current situation?" A pause. Half a second too long. "I know enough to know you're managing something difficult." That pause stayed with her. But she didn't push it yet. He slid the consulting contract across. The retainer was enough to cover her back rent twice over. She was 2 signatures away from solving the most immediate problem in her life. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo of her and Elliot through the restaurant window. 3 words above it, "Do you know?" She turned the phone face down. But that pause was still there. She searched his name. Found a business journal profile from 14 months ago. One line stopped her. Marsh Capital's acquisition strategy always began with the same first step. Comprehensive background research on every individual connected to a potential deal. Personal finances. Employment history. Outstanding liabilities. Outstanding liabilities. She looked up at him across the table. "How long have you known about the eviction notice?" 3 seconds of silence. "Maya." "How long?" "Not a question." "Before I came into the bakery the first time." The air went out of the room. Maya didn't speak. Because in that moment she understood something she hadn't allowed herself to see. The most humiliating part wasn't that he knew. It was that she had been grateful. She stood up. Put the contract in her bag. Unsigned. "I need to think," she said. and walked out. She walked 6 blocks before she stopped. Not because she was tired. Because her legs just stopped moving. She had been here before. Not this exact street. But this exact feeling. She started walking again. At home she laid everything on the kitchen table. Joel's letter. The eviction notice underneath it. Elliot's card. The unsigned contract. 4 pieces of paper. Her entire situation in 1 square foot. She thought it through. Practically. Without letting emotion run ahead. Elliot had known everything before he walked in. That was either predatory or thorough, and she was honest enough to admit she didn't know which one yet. None of what he had said was an outright lie. That was the part she kept returning to. Her phone buzzed again. Same number. No photo this time. He does this with women he wants something from. Ask him about Dana Reeves. She searched the name. Civil complaint against Marsh Capital. 18 months ago. A woman who claimed Elliot had used a personal relationship to extract proprietary data from a competing firm. Settled out of court. Terms undisclosed. She closed the laptop. Sat in the quiet. She called in sick the next day. First time in 14 months. She sat at the kitchen table and did not make a list. That alone told her how bad it was. She thought about that smile. The small satisfied one on his way out the door. She thought about words she hadn't heard yet but somehow already felt. He finds capable women in difficult situations and makes himself necessary to them. She picked up her phone. Not to call Elliot. To call Renee. Her sister picked up on the 3rd ring. I need to talk to someone, Maya said. And I don't have anyone else. A pause. Then Renee said quietly, I'm here. Talk to me. Maya looked at the 4 pieces of paper on the table and started from the beginning. Renee listened without interrupting for the first time in Maya's memory. When Maya finished, Renee was quiet for a long moment. I think the background report is the thing that matters most, Renee said. Not the Dana Reeves case. Not the messages. The report. Why? Because a man who researches your eviction notice before he introduces himself and then lets you think it was accidental, that's a deliberate choice. That doesn't mean his intentions are bad. It means he decided what you needed before he asked you. And men who do that don't always know when to stop deciding. Maya met Elliot at a coffee shop the next afternoon. Her choice of location. He didn't comment on that. I need you to answer something honestly even if the honest answer is bad for you. All right, he said. The background report. How detailed? Detailed. You knew about the eviction. The back rent. The credit card. Yes. And you walked in anyway and let me think it was spontaneous. She looked at him. Was any of it real? He was quiet long enough that she knew the next answer had been considered carefully. Both, he said. The report told me your situation. It didn't tell me who you were. I went to the bakery to see who you were. And what I saw was real. But I won't tell you I went in blind. So you knew I was desperate and made yourself the solution. I told myself I wanted to help. And now? Now I'm wondering if Vanessa was more right about me than I wanted to admit. The name landed between them. Dana Reeves, Maya said. He nodded slowly. I didn't use what she shared. We walked away from the acquisition. But I let the relationship go further than it should have because it was convenient. I told myself it was separate. It wasn't. So she's partially right, Maya said. He didn't answer immediately. That was its own answer. I'm not a predator, he said. But I move toward things I want without always asking whether the other person has the full picture. I've been sitting with that for 4 months. Maya looked at him. I need the contract reviewed by my own attorney. Independent. Not yours. Of course. And I need you to understand something. She leaned forward. I am not a project. If this moves forward, it's because my work earns it. Not because you felt something watching me through a bakery window. Understood? I'll give you my answer by Friday. Patricia Okafor read the contract in 40 minutes, asked 6 questions, made 2 calls. It's clean, she said. Better than clean. The exit clause protects you as much as him. Whoever drafted this wasn't trying to trap anyone. She slid a printed page across the table. I know someone at the firm that handled the Reeves settlement. The complaint was disputed internally from the start. The settlement was driven by timeline, not liability. Meaning he didn't do it. Meaning the people closest to it didn't believe he did. That's not the same thing. But it's worth knowing. There's a difference, Patricia added, between a man who uses people and a man who doesn't understand how much space he takes up. One is dangerous. The other just needs to be told clearly where the line is. Which one is he? Maya asked. That's what you're about to find out. Maya called Friday morning. I'll sign. Monday. Patricia present. Fine. Whatever you need. Sunday night her phone rang. Unknown number. This is Vanessa Donovan. Maya said nothing. I sent you the messages. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I'm listening, Maya said. I was with Elliot for years. He finds capable women in difficult situations and makes himself necessary to them. He's not malicious. That's almost the worst part. Let me tell you something that took me 4 years to understand, Vanessa said. Elliot doesn't manipulate people. She paused. He rescues them. Another pause. And when someone rescues you, they always get to decide what the story means. Maya sat very still. He didn't do what Dana accused him of. But he let things go further than they should have because it suited him. His intentions are good. That's what makes it complicated. Somewhere in the process it stops being about you and starts being about the story he tells himself about who he is. Why are you telling me this now instead of staying anonymous? Because the anonymous approach was wrong. I was angry and I handled it badly. Is it possible, Maya said carefully, that some of this is about how it ended and you're not completely over it? A long silence. Yes, Vanessa said. Probably. Both things can be true. I know, Maya said. That's what I needed to hear. She called Elliot at 10. Told him everything Vanessa had said. Straight. No softening. He was quiet for a long time. She's not wrong, he said finally. About the pattern. I move toward things I want and I don't stop to ask the full set of questions I should be asking. I did that with you. I let you think it was spontaneous when it wasn't. Why? Because if I'd told you up front that I'd read your file, you would have walked away before I had a chance to show you it wasn't only that. That's still a choice you made for me, she said. I know. I am not a story you get to tell yourself about who you are. I was already here. I was already doing the work. You just happened to be parked across the street. You're right, he said quietly. You were already here. She hung up. Signed her copy of the contract. She would bring Patricia's copy Monday. But she had already decided. The signing took 11 minutes. No speeches. Maya initialed, signed, slid it back. Elliot signed his copy. Welcome aboard, he said. Thank you, she said. Professionally. Clearly. She paid Gerald the full outstanding balance the following Friday. He opened the envelope, looked at the check, looked at her. You didn't have to do it all at once. I know. I wanted to. He didn't ask where it came from. She appreciated that more than she could say. She went upstairs and picked up both letters from the kitchen table. Gerald's and the eviction notice underneath it. She folded them together and put them in the small box on her shelf where she kept things she didn't want to forget. Not as punishment. Just to remember where she had been. The consulting work was real and demanding and exactly the kind of problem she was built to solve. She wrote a 40-page operational assessment and presented it on a Thursday morning. Nobody interrupted her. When the room cleared, Elliot stopped beside her chair. "Good work." "I know," she said. He smiled. Walked out. That was enough. They kept it professional for 2 months. Then he called one evening and said, "I'd like to take you to dinner. Not a work dinner. And I want to ask properly instead of assuming." She told him she'd think about it. Called him the next day. Said yes. It was not a simple relationship. Neither of them was built for simple. There were moments when he filled too much space and she had to tell him directly. He listened. There were moments when she went too quiet and he had to sit with it instead of pushing. He did. It was real. It was worth it. For months in, she finally called the shelter that received the bakery's donations. The coordinator, a woman named June, said they were always grateful for sweet provisions. Then she paused. "One of our volunteers used to work at a bakery in your area. She talks about it often. About a woman on the closing shift who was kind to her one night when she really needed it." Maya went very still. "Her name is Diane." "Yes. She's been here about 8 months. She says that night changed something for her." Maya went to the shelter on Thursday morning. Diane was in the back room stacking donation boxes. She looked up. She looked different. Less like someone bracing for impact. Shoulders lower. Eyes clearer. "You're the one from the bakery," Diane said. "Yes." Diane looked at her for a moment. "That night," she said quietly, "was the first time someone helped me without making me feel like I owed them something." Maya felt something move in her chest that she didn't try to name. "You showed me it was possible," Diane said. "To give when you don't have much. To not make a production of it. Just do it and move on." Diane smiled. "Do you want to help stack these boxes?" Maya took off her coat. "Yes," she said. "I do." She drove home thinking about closed doors and careful questions and the courage it takes to walk through one when the ground on the other side might not hold.